building your self-esteem, all that good stuff that makes you, well, it's resilience, how do you make yourself a resilient person? And then so I talk about what goes into that, and a lot of it is around human connection, and it's interesting, why I stopped being a therapist was I wasn't getting enough strokes. The Manage Your Mood course, I knew why I was getting depressed, because I'd learned some stuff. And so that's what I basically want to teach people in that course, is very small things that everyone can do that you have to keep your eye on daily to keep your mood up. And it's also, in a salon, how you can look after each other, and how you can see that you might be contributing to a negative vibe, and how you can create a more positive vibe in your salon and get everyone working as a team and looking after them. So you're looking after each other.
How do you teach this? How is that taught?
Well, I originally taught it in person. So I would go to a salon and there'd be 12 people or whatever. And so I teach a theory in a very simple way, just this is the theory. And then I teach it to how this affects you as a person, and then how this affects you as a hairdresser. And so how I do it is, I teach a bit of a theory, then I put people into groups, figure something out, come back and share it with the wider group, teach you a bit more, go back into a group, figure it out, come share it. And that's how I do it, basically. It's quick moving, because who wants to sit there for 2 hours and listen to a lecture? It's boring.
No, nobody does.
No one wants to do that. So I like people getting up and moving around. But what's interesting is, 4 months after I started this, COVID hit. Yay! And so, by March 2020, I was 4 months into doing this, and no more live education. And I wasn't fast off the mark with online education at all. I didn't have any in the first lockdown to offer. I think it was probably maybe the second or even the third by the time I had an online course to offer. And then I thought, get with the program, Hayley, and do it on Zoom.
Zoom.
It took me a while.
Isn't that mad? Nobody.
Don't you wish you were married to the owner of Zoom?
Zoom. But it was there about. It made me even my podcast was just done via Skype, and it was like asking people to connect on Skype was like, well, and then suddenly Zoom, and then people realised that you could offer this education to people who just sat there. So you done that then, and that's what you done. You brought these courses in, and was the uptake there? Yes, it really was. Well, people kept asking me, have you got anything online? And I was like, no. And I was a bit of a techophobe, really, and all that stuff. And I just couldn't see. It was pure tech fear. It just was. And I felt it had to be more. I was more thinking about making an evergreen course. That's where my brain was. I was all about making an evergreen course, and that's where I was putting all my energy. Just explain what evergreen is, because a lot of people, we all talk about evergreen, but some people still think, what is evergreen? Yeah. What is evergreen?
It means it sits there on my website, and you can download it at any time and do it by yourself.
So Zoom, live, interact with you, go along in a course, like sitting in a room.
Evergreen.
I
created it. It sat there.
And that's all. These evergreen courses sit on your website.
Well, Manage Your Mood sits there as an evergreen. That's the only one, which is the one that's helping you with your mood. Obviously, says what it does on the tin. But then the second workshop that I was doing live in salons is called "Set Yourself Up for Success: How to Deal with Clients You Find Difficult." And so I'm planning on making that into an evergreen, because now I know how to do it. It's easy. But it took me.
So come on, what's this one all about then? And I'd love to get some insights into this course.
It's around learning how people tick and why they behave the way they do, say the things they do, and think the things they do, and also for ourselves. And so I teach a theory called ego states, which is one of the big theories from TA. And when I learnt this, it blew my mind. Me, first year hairdressing, this was the first thing I learnt, and I was like, oh, it all makes sense why Mrs. Jones is a nightmare. And it really totally blew my mind. And this is the one that I did for the other trainees, where I described clients in a very exaggerated fashion. And so I've sort of calmed that down and made this into a program. But basically I do this. I explain how people have different I imagine it's like this. You've got 3 different personalities in your brain and they all think, feel and behave in different ways, but you need the appropriate one at any given time. That makes sense.
It makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
which one am I going to pick?
Yeah. Oh, shouldn't have been that one. You know, and so like your prejudices live in one of these. Your charm and your humour lives in another, your creativity in another, your nurturing skills in another, your judgmental in another. And so I teach people about hairdressers, about how that looks in a hairdresser. So it's quite funny. You know those hairdressers that's 1 in 10 minutes late, like they're saving lives. You know, there's those. And then there's the one that comes in late. It's like, oh, the bus didn't come, my alarm didn't go off, or, you know, all the things. The anxious hairdresser, the client that comes in and says, no one gets my hair right. And I explain what's behind that. And what I hope is by the end of this course, you learn how to control yourself a little bit better and bring the right one forward when dealing with someone. And also, you get a little bit of empathy for people that you find difficult, because when you realise what's behind it, the power's gone and you tend to not feel quite as irritated or scared.
Yeah, I really get this, and I get what you're just saying there, because as, again, somebody who does hair, and you know, we all know that client. We're waiting for that client, aren't we?
Oh, you see the name.
We may have spoken about this, but and we all do it, don't we?
All
we look
of
down
us.
our column, and oh god, there's a new client.
Oh, yeah.
A new client's like going out on a first date.
Awful.
You've got to
Terrifying.
get to, and then you've got the nervous client, and then you've got the high energy client. So what
Wants
you're
to
saying
change
is
every 10 minutes.
so many. This is why hairdressers. I still say it to this day. If I had and I wanted millions of things sold. Yeah, hairdressers I would get out on the front of the sales and talking and getting to know clients, because we have to adapt.
Yes.
To every single, and that's draining, isn't it? That actually, I think, is a major reason why people burn out, because you're having to deal with every walk of life, and that is not easy.
It's exhausting. And the energy that somebody brings in affects your energy, because sometimes you have to bring a bit more energy to that person, and then you're spent by the end of the day.
Oh, massive. Yeah, because you have to have that. Someone told me, Hayley, and I'm sure this may be something you try and share with people, but you have to have, I always feel your energy has to be that little bit above that energy. So if you've got someone right down there, and then you've got to be just a little bit higher.
Oh, that's true. I've never thought of that before. It's
isn't
good.
it? Because, and if you've got somebody that I find super energized clients really draining, because I've got to be even more super energized, or you've got to know the skill set, how to just bring that personality down a bit. These are skills, aren't they? How can I? They're draining me.
Yes.
Is there a tactic?
How can I get them in the room?
Yeah, that's right. It's just
get in your chair.
That nervous energy that so many people have when you're meeting people, because people are quite nervous, aren't they, coming into the salon?
Of course, and people say stuff like this sometimes. I'll never forget it. I said to someone once, "What are we doing today?" And they said, "Well, I've just got divorced," and went into a big story. And I thought, I don't know what's happening here. What? Just tell me what colour, But then this made sense to me through this course, because I was like, oh, we must address this first. We just have to. And so we do that. But when we know we're going to have to do it, it's easier to balance your energy for it, I think. So that's the stuff that you learn on that one, but that's not evergreen yet, but I am working on that. I just thought, but I do as a live Zoom.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So all of these courses, everything is on the website, as you say, isn't it, Hayley, in terms of everything? You do one-to-one coaching as well?
I do, and it's an interesting story how that happened, actually. In the first lockdown...
You've got an interesting life, full stop, lady.
Or I just think I'm dead interesting.
You are. I think you're brilliant.
In the first lockdown, and so I was just getting a little bit of traction on Instagram, and I'd obviously stopped doing the live courses because of COVID, but I was still, I was present, and I was trying to do my best to, help hairdressers, because I planned to help busy hairdressers, and all of a sudden I was helping bored and stressed hairdressers. But the point being was, this girl contacted me from Australia and said, clearly I can't do any of your workshops because they're live. You've not got anything online. What have you got for me? And I was just like, don't know. And she told me what was wrong, and I said, well, I can talk to you if you like. I'd be happy to talk to you on Zoom. And she was like, sold, brilliant. And I said, well, I'll tell you what, let's me and you meet on Zoom, have a conversation, see how it goes. And if you like it, we'll set it up in a professional way, you know. And she was like, great. And within 15 minutes of talking to her, she was like, where do I sign? And I was just like, oh, brilliant. And so I had my first coaching client. And then I got one of my friends to supervise me. So when you're a therapist, you have a supervisor, which is someone you go and talk about your clients with. And it's to make sure that your ethics are good, that if you're stressed about it and you're like, I don't know what to say, they give you some ideas of the direction to go in and theories to think about. And so because coaching was a different way, coaching is always moving forward. Therapy sits in the mess until you're ready. Whereas coaching, really, you want to kind of be moving forward a little bit. And I think my coaching is a bit of both. I don't mind when people want to sit for a bit and figure something out. I'm not always pushing to move forward. But the point being was, I got one of my friends to supervise me who was a therapist turned coach, because I wanted to make sure I was getting the pace right and, you know, not becoming a therapist. And so I did that for a little while. And once I felt really confident in that, and I was seeing great results with my client, and I still see her to this day, I advertised it to the world. I put it out there on Instagram, doing one-to-one coaching.
For me, it feels a very natural evolution of you personally, because I actually think it really sits well as part of your brand. And I think actually from people that just need some help with their burnout, stress, it may not even be linked to hairdressing in some ways. It may just, but I think if you're a hairdresser, sometimes you want to speak to someone who knows. For sure. I mean, the main point being here as well is, you know, it's like me and you chatting here. I get all what you're saying, because you understand the problems, you know the realities, and knowing somebody that can probably, well, you're talking to somebody maybe outside the industry, don't quite get it. They say silly things. You know, they say things and you're like, that doesn't wash in my world, and they don't understand why. When I used to talk to my therapist about why I was stressed at work, she'd just say things like, just do this, and I'd just laugh and be like, we don't do things like that. That's not okay in my world. In my culture, we don't do that. And she'd get hung up on how annoying that was. And I was like, well, I know that, but I've got to work in the parameters of the culture. And when I was looking for a business coach as well, it was irritating, because all the business coaches I was talking to, I ended up educating them about how hairdressing culture is. And it was annoying. And then so I found my business coach, who was a hairdresser. Well, she's not anymore. She's not behind the chair anymore. And so what I realised is we have a shorthand that's brilliant, you know, and we have inside jokes. And, you know, people just have to say something like, well, it's scary putting your prices up. And I'm like, got it. I know it is. And I know why it is, because Sheila's been coming for 20 years, you know, and all the things. And so I think that I've got this weird combination of skills of real therapy training, so know some stuff, real life experience of being burnt out and depressed, and coming out the other side of that and doing a pretty good job of keeping myself out of it, and being a hairdresser for 29 years in lots of different ways. It's absolutely perfect. I love people that create niches, and actually that's where my coaching has come. It's just naturally evolved into helping people in the industry to find their niche, because everybody has a niche, and I love that. So that's why I'm naturally drawn to people like yourself, Hayley, what you're doing, because you found it. You found your niche, and it's growing up and it's evolving, and it is exciting. I think it's exciting on where this goes, because as a brand, you know, there's just so much that you could build into this. There really is. I don't know where it's going, and that is exciting. You know, I just sort of think. I had a coach for a little while who made me think about the big picture a little bit more, because her background was in marketing and corporate life, and she made me take it a little bit more seriously in a way. And that was really interesting for a while. So she was making me think long term, which was just like blowing my mind. But at the moment, I'm basically I just move from one. I have an idea and I do it, and that's how I just one step at a time. And then you look back and think, wow. Look. Oh, I can see lots for your brand. I really can. I think you've got so much scope there, and I think what you've created is just the start. And you're just very warm and endearing, and a lovely persona about
Well,
you, and
thanks,
that
Dom.
massively
But feel free
helps.
to
And
put those ideas in an email to me.
yeah, absolutely. Jump on a one-to-one with me and we'll have a chat about it. But look, it is really, really good. It's very special. And I think just coming towards the latter part now, and what's the value for somebody? I'm not talking of a salon here. I'm just talking of a hairdresser, a barber, whoever. They're going to have to invest money with you, because if they want to do this, is it only open to salons? Is it colleges? Is it individually? So say, like, you know, I'm a hairdresser, I want that effectively has to be the one-to-one call, isn't it?
No. There's loads of different... I can work one-to-one or with salons, and so the way originally it was just salons. That's how I did it, you know, that's what I thought I was going to do, was just teach workshops in salons. Then it turned into coaching individuals, and now if I do a Zoom course, so I can do a workshop via Zoom for a salon, but I also do single ticket workshops. So let's say you wanted to come and do Manage Your Mood, Dom, you just buy one ticket, and you'll be doing that course with other hairdressers.
Love it.
You know?
So it's a collaborative.
Yeah, and
approach,
my courses
you know,
are different because, like, the original 2 workshops, I tend to have about a dozen people on them. They're quite small, and there's a little bit more sharing that goes on. And, you know, I always say what goes on in the workshop stays in the workshop, and I don't record those. But then I have other workshops that are a bit more bums on seats, if you like, where there's no sharing. I just talk and people make notes, and they can ask me questions and talk if they want, but they can be a bit more lurking in the background, and that's like Burnout and Boundaries, where and so I keep those lower priced because I know I can get a lot of people on them, and so I like them to be very accessible. I mean, all my stuff's quite reasonably priced, I think.
Yeah, and for their investment for money, what's the biggest thing that they will get from these with you? I know each course is different, but what would be the biggest thing that's worth them investing in this?
God, getting your life back, you know. I mean, I think for the people that turn up for one-to-one coaching, particularly in Burnout and Boundaries, I mean, you know, it's so lovely when you get a message and people say, it changed my life, I was going to give up hairdressing. You know, a lot of people turn up on my door and they're about to give up hairdressing. So I asked someone for a testimonial for a new course I just ran the other day called Bye Bye Limiting Beliefs. And she said, Hayley, this course actually changed. She's done all my courses. And she said, this is the one that's changed me so far. If I'd have done this 30 years ago, my career would have been different. And I just think it's so powerful that, you know, and I'm so grateful. And, you know, it brings a bit of a tear to me when I get a testimonial like that. But I just think for people who are struggling, they sometimes get to stay in their job instead of, you know, thinking, what am I going to do? Go and work on the till in Tesco? Because we all feel like we're trained for nothing else. You know, so when we think about moving,
what else can I do?
We think about moving to real minimum wage jobs, and that's terrifying, you know. And so I think you get to stay in your job, you get to make your job work for you, you get to drag yourself out of burnout and have a life, you know, your family get you back, and stuff like that, you know, confidence, self-esteem, less stress and anxiety, boundaries, all the good stuff, you know. I just think less worry and stress.
Yeah, I think that's got to be perfect, and it's just worth every part.
Yeah.
And that can give you sort of freedom then to go off, and once you're feeling that balance and that real wellness in yourself and enjoying back to work,
it's getting
that's
your
gonna
energy
just
back,
radiate
isn't
into
it? You know, energy is the thing, and I think it
it's
all comes down to that. And the first thing I teach people is like, right, where are we going to get you some more energy from? Because you can't fight this fight without energy. And so the first thing I'm doing is that.
Yeah, and my final question to you is really just for anybody that is really in this and they're thinking, and they're just sitting there, you know, they're driving their car, they're wandering around the house with the buds in and listening to me and you having a lovely old chinwag, and they're going to think, you know what, I am feeling a bit of burnout. Is there anything I can just do now? Is there anything I can do right this minute that can just help me? What would that be from you, Sir Hayley?
Yeah, I think I'll give you 2 things for that. First things first is think, what responsibility can I put down for a while? And I like to say things like a month, because it's panic. People panic when I say, what can you put down? They're like, oh, the world will fall apart if I don't do it. But if I say, like, could you not, I don't know, make dinner every night? Could you not do that every night? For a month, could you negotiate with your partner that they might do a bit more for a while? You know, what responsibility can you put down for a short time? And that gives you a little bit of space. And then the other thing I tell everybody to do is try and go for a walk every day for about 30 minutes in silence. Because what this does, it gives your brain an opportunity to process things, solve problems, figure things out, put things in away in files and put them in boxes, so that when your head hits the pillow, it doesn't go, now, it's now my time. Right, let's solve all those problems now, Dom. You know, you do it. So if you give yourself processing time in the day, and it's so creative. If I ever need to think of a reel, I go for a walk and I come back with 3 ideas, you know.
You know, and I think so many of us were happy in lockdown. I know we were worrying about our money and our bills, but actually we were in our space. And actually this is, again, a thing that I talk about, is that when we're with clients, you don't have your own headspace because your headspace is taken up. You don't have that thought, that creative process. But I love lockdown because I went for 2-hour walks. No AirPods in, nothing. I didn't listen to anything. I just walked, and God, it made me so happy.
It's amazing, isn't it? It's amazing. And when I wasn't able to walk properly for a while, I really missed my walking. I'm sort of addicted to it now because it's how I look after myself. And thankfully now I can walk for about 20 minutes, which is brilliant. But I couldn't, you know. And so I used to just lie on my bed for half an hour in silence, because I was like, I just need that brain space. But people often need to do something. They don't like just lying on the bed. It's weird. And, you know, if you're not someone who can meditate, because people find that hard often, this is my answer to that, is walking in silence.
Yeah. Rather than just sitting there in silence, walk, because it's an easier thing. I think that's absolutely a gold nugget.
It really works, doesn't it?
Such a simple one, but it massively. I think you can do all the yin and yangs and hang from a tree upside down, but actually go for a walk is just simple but brilliant, and fresh air makes you feel amazing. So final question, promise. What's making you excited about the Resilient Hairdresser in the future?
So many things. I'm in the middle of building a new course, and I'm launching. Well, I'm going to launch it soon, but I'm going to run it starting in September, and it's a leadership course for people with a more gentle energy. I don't want to say it's just for women. That's not quite true, but I wouldn't say it's for alpha males. You know, it's called Lead from the Heart, and it's going to be a 6-week coaching program for salon owners, and I want to give them the confidence to step into a leadership role and really feel like they're leading their salon, you know, and not just winging it, and give them the confidence to really run the show. And so I'm going to talk about all sorts of bits and pieces in this course to give them that confidence to lead, because I think that's really different than managing.
Fabulous. I can't wait to see more about this. And
I'm really excited
you'll have to share it with
that.
us when that will do. It sounds fantastic. I think there's so much scope to this, as you know, we're saying. And, look, thank you so much, Hayley, in everything that you're doing here, because I think you're adding something really important to our industry, and I think that's just got overlooked. And I love how you've packaged it up and you've created your brand and your niche, and I love your branding on Instagram.
Oh, thank you.
So again, just a little shout out. I know we said it earlier on in the show, but just people that want to go and connect deeper with you, on social, your Instagram, as you say, remind us of your handle.
the.resilient.hairdresser. That's on Instagram.
Brilliant. And all your evergreen courses, one-to-one coaching.
Yes.
Where do we go?
On the website. But if you, on my Instagram, if you follow the link in the bio, it takes you straight to everything. But if you go direct to the website, you know, it's theresilienthairdresser.co.uk.
Brilliant. You've got a link tree. Is it a link tree?
It's, well, my website guy wouldn't let me have a link tree. It's kind of like a link tree, but it's on my website.
Why not? Why did he not want that for?
Because he said, why should Linktree get all the clicks? You should get them.
Do you know, absolutely. I agree completely with that.
And he said, if Linktree goes down, you're knackered.
Yes.
So
very, very true.
I wasn't allowed it. But it looks like a Linktree. You know, it's the same thing, basically. But you can also just DM me.
You can actually just do it as a landing page on your website. It's a landing page,
exactly what it is. But people can DM me. I answer DMs. I'm in them every day.
DM and
Yeah.
good old-fashioned email. I love an email
me.
still.
But I think my email's on my Instagram, you know. I answer DMs, though. I'm good.
Good. Well, all the links will be put in the show notes.
Oh,
And again, I'll give those in the outro and intro as well. But Hayley, thank you so much for connecting. I think I first connected with you on the hair show.
Yes.
I think you've done a piece on that, which was
with
our first time. Then we done the Weller.
Well, the infamous Weller.
The infamous Weller that we just couldn't find each other. And now this, and then we're going to have a fourth time. So, yeah, certainly getting to know you well. And I'm really grateful for you. And I've really enjoyed your company today.
Oh, thank you so much. Do you know, I absolutely love chatting to hairdressers and doing podcasts. It's brilliant, isn't it? It's nice to be on the other side as well.
Yeah,
I love it.
Great. Look, thank you so much. So I'm going to hit the stop. So, stop.